The first time that I was aware of an election, my grandmother, Lena Holland Foreman, she'd be out there every election on that corner, any kind of weather, passing out flyers, talking to people, because she believed in that, being able to cast your vote, to have your voice, that voice. And when Eisenhower ran, I went in there with my grandmother when she voted because she couldn't read. And I was always excited. All I remember was Eisenhower being elected, president. And I was living in Cosby Terrace at the time. Push that button, mail that thing in, do that voting. Okay, it might not look like it's going anywhere, but it will. It will. I went to New York and found out they were worse than they were down here. And I had to take a test before I could vote. And I didn't really understand it, but later on I didn't believe that I had to do that. I said, a little simple math, a little reading thing, questions, question and answer page. But I didn't have to do that here. So when I came back home, I re-registered and we didn't have to do it. And I've been voting since I was 18 years old. I might have missed 1 year. That's when I transitioned from Maryland to New York that one time. And that was in Staten Island, and I didn't know where to go. Things weren't going so good over in our neighborhood, and I had been there for a few years in Eastport, and somebody was running for office, and we never saw him, never met him or anything. And he never came to any of our, that I knew of, meetings or anything. Things weren't good for the working class, the children mainly. There were a lot of things that needed to be done. The Trexham Park thing had to be done and corrected. There was no activities for the youth. There weren't any black businesses. Cab drivers, barbershops, beauty shops, that was it. And every time one of us come in, we had to go through hell to get a certificate or something. Just talking to people in general, how hard it was to live in Annapolis and being poor was very hard. Yeah, all of this was going on. They were losing their homes. A lot of the people did not live up to, or the children weren't able to purchase the property that their families had. They just died off. And those who could, they left town and never came back. So a lot of the property, they sold it for $20,000, $30,000, and it went up to $250,000 in cost. Those kind of things I was concerned about. And I mentioned to someone, they said, well, yeah, you can run as a write-in. I said, well, they already had the election. That was a primary. I said, well, the primary's over. I said, but you don't have to run write-in as a primary. You can run and write-in as in the general. And then I spoke to Carl. He said, well, they never had a woman in there, and a black woman and blah, 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 blah. Hey, look, I have nothing to lose. $50 or whatever it was to put my paperwork in, that's what I did. I said, well, I'll give it a shot. The way those booths were set up during that time, you had the little levers where you write in something or you push the little keys down. Well, if you were right-handed, it was hard because of the way the booths were set up. Yeah. So we had to educate people how to write with your left hand in the left-hand corner if you were right-handed. And then you had the little short people, a couple of little short ladies. We had to make sure they had a little stool there so they could stand up and see what they were doing. Yeah. And it was interesting. It was a lot of education in 3 weeks we had to do it. And sure enough, it happened. I just kind of fell into it. In my first 6 months sitting on that council, I didn't open my mouth. I tried to learn, and nobody was to teach me. They don't have any, and I since then, they have classes. But to actually perform, and how do you serve? How do you put in some legislation or amendment? Moderate price dwelling units. For years, I worked to try to get that done. That was one of the main things. I still have the legislation that Barbara Samarazix did with the county, and the county, knocked it down. They wouldn't vote on it. So what it was, they said that leave the city alone, let's get it in the county, and that would encompass the whole city and all. And they knocked it down. And still to the day, the county council said, the MPDU, okay, affordable housing, okay, I don't care how you name it, let's get it. Do you see all these places growing up around here? And it's pushing the working class out. Not just blacks, people who struggle. You got to get up and do something. So we are going through life as a bud. And we're a bud in a bud. And I would like for them to learn what politics is about. It can be dirty like anything else. But that's why you need good, clean minds with integrity, with respect to get in there to teach children and teach people. Because you got to teach the parents so the parents can teach the children too. The importance of this.